liberty and justice for all.
Way to show up, Acton! We are proud of you.
So we'll start with community comments. So this is for stuff that's not on the agenda. And if we don't have any, we move on straight to the stuff that you do want to talk about. Anything? Guys? Okay. Announcements, correspondence?
Okay, next week, regional planning will be approving an amendment to a recorded lease subdivision map that will strip away all lease subdivision requirements and improvements so that the owner can develop a 16-pump gas station, fast food business, and convenience store on the property next to 76. We need the community to know about this, so please put the word out. Went out, thank you, and we'll be discussing it tonight. The LA County Fire Department has kicked off their Sparks of Love campaign and is asking for donations of new unwrapped toys or sports equipment. You can bring the toys to any fire station. Beginning on November 17th, Public Works has scheduled tree trimming operations for public roadsides trees in West Acton. That will include trimming and removal of some parkway trees within the right-of-way. They will plant new trees to replace any that are removed. No parking signs will be posted at least 48 hours prior to work starting. So please keep them. Work will be done from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Monday through Friday, though some work may be done on Saturdays and traffic hearings. Please see the flyer posted or soon to be posted on the website. We received an email from a resident of Red Rover who has been told the property next to them will soon be used as a poultry farm with more than 2,000 chickens. The resident also indicated there were violations on the property. We have asked them to summarize the violations so we can forward them to the current agencies and point them towards the applicable county regulations. We have also reached out to the California Water Boards for information on regulations pertaining to waste handling for groundwater and surface water protection. Metro is inviting the public to comment on improved safety across the transit system. They had a listening session in October, and you can get it on your website and learn more about it and make comments until November 20th. They did not provide a flyer to post on our website, but if you're interested in commenting, contact the town council and we look forward to doing that. We received a response from Public Works regarding the October 6th discussion of traffic safety and placing red flashers on several existing stop signs. Apparently, none of the locations met the criteria. They also provided a copy of the Santiago Road and Stallion Meadows Road stop sign request study, where they indicated the criteria was not met. If anyone would like a copy of that, please contact us and we can send it to you. Regional Planning has announced that the county-wide community wildfire protection ordinance survey is now open for all unincorporated LA County residents and stakeholders. It is intended to be used by those who did not attend any of the workshops in October. We've asked for a flyer to be posted on our website, but in the meantime, if you want to participate in that survey, contact the town council and we will forward you the QR code for this in place. We received a notice from the Forest Service that they will tear down and fully decommission the Los Cantiles picnic site in Butte Canyon, but they will be investing significant effort to upgrade and replace facilities and campgrounds on the south side of the city. We received a response from Public Works regarding the October 6th discussion of how the county's road maintenance division has split Acton down the middle, which causes problems in reporting road hazards. It was recommended that you access the map on their website, which provides relevant information or report problems on the Works app. If you don't know how to contact the Works or access the Works app, contact the town council and we will send you that information. The Regional Planning Commission is convening a hearing on December 3rd to address amendments to adopt the housing ordinances and Title 21 and Title 22. They're making a lot of changes, some of which are required by state law, but some are not. Very concerned about this because a lot of provisions in the Title 22 are necessary to protect the community, and if we change them, we have to keep an eye on it. But per usual, they've never released the draft before scheduling the hearing. They have posted no information about it at all, other than that the hearing is on December 3rd. They probably won't post anything until just before the hearing, so it is advised that you check the Regional Planning Commission website regularly. Help us out with that. If you don't know where to look, contact the town council and we can send you the link. Finally, the library has lots of events coming up. Wednesday, November 12th, there is Cornhusker Doll activity, Cornhusker Doll art activity on Thursday. November 13th, there was a Make Home event. November 18th, there was a Smart Event Story Time. And then later various smaller kids and older kids as well. Some of these events require registration, so please check the library website or grab a flyer, they're probably out in the hall. We still have to follow up on the detox action, and reaching out to fire department on will not serve letter requirements, and to Waterworks District 37 on making the individual property owner pay $250 to put in a generator just to bring water to their project. Those were things we voted on before, but we haven't gotten to those yet. That's it.
So I think we're still in a democracy, so let's hold a room. What are you all here for? Which agenda item? Is it all the real?
Yes, talk about the food trucks.
Food trucks first?
Yeah, the restaurant owners.
Okay, sounds good. Let's do the food trucks first. Do you guys wanna, I would like to last.
Oh. Well, stand up and talk.
Yes, stand up.
I hate pizza. Oh, this is the lady that won the lawsuit for us. I am the pom-pom, she is the brains. Okay,
Boxing gloves.
So, food trucks, I know that it's kind of been a hot button issue. I think what's happened is LA County has let us fall through the cracks. A lot of incorporated areas within LA County have their own regulations to regulate where food trucks can be parked and for how long. And if you look in LA County, in their ordinance for regulating this, there are no regulations for an unincorporated area. They kind of left it to the individual cities to do this. So, what I'm hoping for is that we can figure out a path forward with LA County to make them realize that we've been kind of left out of the loop here, and we need to have some sort of regulation because, do we have any restaurant owners, establishments here? Thank you for coming. I know that these trucks are taking away business from your businesses, and it's hard enough to make a living in Acton. We're a small community, and we all know that it takes a lot to support local business. And having a food truck, we're not against food trucks. If they wanna have that business, that's good for them, but it's where they're parking it is directly affecting our local business owners who are paying rent. And they have all the brick and mortar expenses, employees, insurances, taxes, whatnot. So we need to find a way to lobby the county to create some sort of regulation that will cover food trucks in unincorporated areas such as that. It's my spiel. Tammy, you want to say anything?
No, I just think we have some, restaurant owners here that probably would be better to speak as to how these food trucks are, you know, hurting their business, how they're parking, where they're parking. My biggest thing is, the trash they leave behind. They are leaving so much trash behind, and I don't know that it's the food trucks specifically that are leaving it, but it's their customers. And we pick up tons of trash every week, and it's always plates and little cups and little things, napkins that have come off of food trucks. They're blowing in the fence lines, they're everywhere. So that's my biggest, disgruntled whatever with the food trucks. But I know we have some restaurant owners in here that if they would like to speak and let us know what they think and what's going on and what the regulations is that they have to go through to have a restaurant. So, if Julie, if you want to go ahead and go first.
Yeah. I went ahead and wrote down my thoughts just so I wouldn't get off track around, but we need to know who you are. Yeah, well, that's my first one. So, I want to introduce myself. My name is Julie Cease, and I'm married to Greg Morrell, and we've been an Acton resident since 2018. We moved here from Valencia just because we wanted to get out of the circus that Santa Clarita was becoming. We found that Acton was an amazing town that we wanted to put roots down in. Full transparency, I do run a restaurant company. I have myself over 700 employees that I am responsible for and multi-million-dollar operation that I am accountable to. With that said, I am a full supporter of small business, and I have the belief that it takes both corporate and small businesses to have a thriving community. My concern is that there is an uneven playing field with the street vendors and that they are increasingly drawing customers away from brick and mortar restaurants due to convenience, affordability, and their special offerings. Unlike traditional restaurants that face high overhead costs, rent, utilities, staffing, insurance, etc., vendors operate with minimal expenses, allowing them to offer lower prices and faster service. This creates an uneven playing field, especially when considering licenses and permitting and health department regulations. My restaurants, we must comply with very stringent health codes, zoning laws, and pay for multiple permits, and we do get audited and inspected on a routine schedule. While street vendors operate under less rigorous or inconsistent regulations, I have yet to hear of any health inspections or audits of permitting from the city. This imbalance not only undermines fair competition, but also raises concerns about food safety and tax compliance. To protect local businesses and ensure customer safety, it is critical to address these regulatory gaps and create a level playing field. I drive by these street vendors every single day on my way to and from work, and I witness many health code violations that are not being inspected or monitored, putting our local residents at risk. As stated before, my restaurants are subject to regular inspections by city fire department and the health department to ensure that I am operating to code. I am also required to post a letter grade in my window to show the general public of my passing inspection. I believe that street vendors are mandated to post as well, yet I fail to see any letter grades posted. I have some of the common violations listed here. I'm not gonna bore you with them.
Actually, those are really important.
Okay, well, no running clean water, no restroom,
I gotta write it down, so just a second, so.
I have the list, I will give it to you. I have a full, complete list. These are just some of the things that when the health department comes into my restaurant, I have to show them proof of. Running clean water. Restrooms provided for employees to wash their hands regularly.
Hot water.
Hot water has to be a certain temperature. And they put a thermometer underneath the running water and temp it. All of my faucets. Food stored in containers on the ground, I see these street vendors have. Mine have to be 6 inches off the ground. I can't put a food container on a milk crate that's 6 inches. I have to have it on a food safety equipment compliance. I see their ice chest on the dirt. So that right there is disgusting. No sanitizer solution with clean towels to wipe down surfaces. Proper food labeling. Hazardous substances or chemicals stored near food products or preparation areas, like their propane and gas. No thermometers. I doubt that any of their employees have required food handler cards. Every single one of my restaurants and every single employee in my restaurants has to have a food handler's card. I have to go through a 2-hour credentialed course, as do my managers. They are supposed to as well. No hair restraints. These are just a few of the violations, and I'm sure if we went through a real compliance audit, which I have here that I will give you, I highly doubt that they would pass inspection. Again, I am in full support of small businesses, and my request is that they are required to be compliant like any brick and mortar restaurant for the public safety, the city revenue, and the ability for traditional restaurants to also thrive in this amazing community. Thank you.
I know we have others able to.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can add something now, but all she says is the truth. For the business side, the health department comes to the restaurant and we have to have everything up to 6 inches, labels, hot water, and if you put glass over here in the stop sign, they park in a lot of cars over there. Sometimes they stop behind the taco truck and buy the tacos, and they use the U-turn. So it's dangerous also to be in the street over there. And I don't know where else, she already say everything. And you know, in the business, if we keep in this way with a lot of taco trucks or taco stands, I don't know if we will to stay another year, or maybe Don Cheto's going to say bye to this community. I've been working in this community for over 30 years. I'm loving, you know, you see me when I was skinny, but I've been here forever, and I want to stay here. You know, I don't want to go nowhere. So I think I don't have nothing else to say. She say everything. If there's anything you guys can do for us, we want to say thank you. We want to stay here.
Let me just throw out some of the things that we've been told by the county, because it's murky at best. And, this is what we've been told, the best recollection is what we've been told by the county. This is, okay, can everybody hear me?
Kinda.
So, what we've been told by the county is under state law, and I know it's state law, street vendors are allowed, but they define street vendors as being just like the lady in front of Arco with a cart selling the frozen pineapple, and they can have an umbrella. We've been told by health department, and I have it in writing, that food vendors are not allowed to have tables or chairs or pop-ups. They're not allowed to have anything outside their truck. They're not allowed to have grills. They're not allowed to be attached to fences. They're not allowed to be on private property. So we have, over the last couple of years, tried several times, many times, to complain to the health department that virtually all the food vendors that we've seen in active, other than the lady selling the pineapple here in front of Arco, appear to violate the standards as we understand them. And the most recent time we engaged with them, with the health department, we were smarter this time. We said, tell us what the regulations are. And that's how we do all this other stuff. And then we pointed out places that were violating those regulations, and there was no response back. So, one of the things I'm kind of thinking about, just want to throw out, is we can try to sit down potentially with Supervisor Barber and her staff, go over what we understand in writing, what the health department says the regulations are, go over the fact that none of these seem to comply, and ask what the enforcement procedures are or should be, or the policy changes that we can have done. I want to make sure everybody understands this. The acting town council has no regulatory authority. We can't, force these entities to comply, because we're not a city, we're unincorporated, so therefore county has jurisdiction over all of these things. But that being said, we will carry it with the pointy end of the spear in anybody we need to try to address these issues. So that's just a thought I have. One other thing is, we are trying, and Ruthie's been, Ruthie and Tammy have been instrumental in trying to get this done, getting the curb area in front of Don Chato's painted red, because of all the traffic that's there, it's really hard to see when you're coming out of the 76, when there's trucks there. We've cleared it, we've made it clear with the the sheriff's department, that on the other side of the street, in front of the Shell gas station, you can't park there. It's not painted red, but there are no parking signs. And it's because of the visibility and the high traffic and the issue. So we have requested that. Our understanding is that the study is on that. I believe the Public Works is going through, because that's a Public Works request. We also were successful, and Tracy Costin was really important on this, several years ago, getting the signs put up along Antelope Woods, saying, no parking until like 4 in the afternoon. And every time we see a food truck there, before 4, maybe it's 5, I don't remember, we call and the deputies move them along. So there are some things we've had some successes at, but this is gonna be a difficult battle, And I'm just throwing that idea out as maybe starting with asking a meeting with Supervisor Barber, but if you have any other ideas, that would be great to hear. Yeah,
I do, and I did bring that up to Deputy Martinez, and we minimize risk. I can't see around this truck, you know, the one by the 76.
I actually addressed that with him, and what I,
So I'm
I
not the
wrote
only
there,
one.
and what I did with him is, no English, and what I got with the wife was, call the police on me.
Okay, so if you would like that,
Yes.
you and Carrie individually contact the town council with visibility concerns. We'll take that and
Okay.
forward that to the people at Public Works doing the study right now.
And another thought that I had was, the one in front of 76 is there every day. The one in front of the Forest Service is there every day. And if a permanent business goes up, which is, this is acting like, you have to do a traffic study. And so they're getting around that too. And it is bringing in increased traffic.
Oh, yeah.
So,
To me, it sounds like we need the health department to do their job. And if somebody has done their permits, has their training, by the way, I did have my own bakery, so I do have some knowledge on this. Then, and a local resident who can't afford a brick and mortar because it, money nowadays is crazy. But, working their rear ends off to make ends meet, and they're able to do this, and they've dotted all their I's, then we need to actually support them, if, I think those are the ones we want, and so we need to pave that path for them by getting the health department off of their butts and doing their job, so that the legit ones can do their job too.
So I think you're right, that a pain point, I guess that's the word we use now, is the health department.
Yeah.
Because every time we drill down into the clear violation and we point them out, they're all over the place. It's crickets, we hear nothing back, so I agree.
Let's say, automatically, the boom, you got about, boom, they're gone. What about the motorhomes?
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's, motorhomes, nobody's complaining about the motorhomes, the homeless, I mean, they parked everywhere. And nobody's doing anything about it. At least an event, go buy a taco, go buy a coffee, I mean, you got abandoned cars, I mean, if these guys leave, they're taking over. And nobody's doing nothing.
If the curb's red,
Yeah.
we have,
Even though you paint it red, they won't know.
well, they'll get a ticket, but they'll get a ticket.
Yeah, they're gonna take, they won't pay for it. Because the RV is gonna register. A lot of them don't have plates.
A lot of the RVs that are here, and you know what, it's not on the agenda tonight, but I'm just gonna, we're not gonna take a position on it, but we can talk about it. A lot of the RVs that are here because they're doing a week out at 1,000 Trails.
Yeah.
Or KOA, or the So we haven't been successful when residents have told us about these places. The sheriff goes out and gets them moved, but I don't.
They only move 2 feet.
No,
They're not supposed to
well, you
move
got the one in front of
every 3
RV.
days.
But before you, indicates the point anyway, it's still, an RV
Right.
isn't taking business from business, and whatever, and we can deal with that as a whole separate issue.
Yeah, but I guess, yeah.
And we're trying to take that issue of 1,000 Trails and KOS, because that's a big source of the problem. Maybe not all of it.
I'm gonna be a fly in the ointment. Everybody's talking about the health risk that these taco vendors are bringing to our community. I'm gonna talk about the fire risk, okay? If the wealthiest amongst us, I'm talking about the Palisades, can't rebuild their homes, what chance do we have? If you go to the taco vendor that's set up right now, you're gonna find signage, you're gonna find a nice easy up, you're gonna find chafing dishes with sterno. You're gonna find one of those 70s barbecues that you never moved as a kid because they were top heavy, you flip over. Okay, these are what you're gonna find. What you're not going to find is any ability to put out a fire should one start. There are no fire extinguishers. There are no fire blankets. Now you could say, what would cause somebody to spend all that money and forget something like that? Okay? Either they don't care, or they're incompetent and they don't realize what they're doing. Okay? What you're going to find if you go over there and look, and I encourage everybody to go and look. Okay? The only place that these people have to go to the bathroom is the porta potties at 7-Eleven. These are not porta potties like when you go to the fair or a carnival that are clean and sanitary. These are tagged up, permanent in place, disgusting porta potties, okay? You're gonna find that where they're standing, directly behind them, before that grass field, you're going to have a generator powering the lights. Right next to that generator, you're gonna have a 5-gallon can of gas. And right next to that, you're gonna have 3 or 4 5-gallon propane tanks. One mistake, whether it be through incompetence, whether it be through fatigue. These people on the weekends are here from 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay? That field behind them, even though it's small, look at that field. It is no longer brown, it is gray. And what that means is when plant material turns gray, it's decomposed. If any of you have ever seen a grain silo fire, the air ignites. That fire will become airborne in a millisecond. One mistake on their part, and we could lose this town. A lot of time has been spent working on BESS, and we won that battle. But we have a threat right now that has been here for 3.5 years that has not been addressed. I've been a pain in their ass because I came here 3 years ago when we had one taco vendor. And it's monkey see, monkey do. You let one in, another one, another one, another one, another one, until we're inundated. Okay? On Antelope Woods, they're parking in, which means they're backing out. Okay? That's the only way I have to go home. I'm 58 years old, and we're the youngest people in our group. We have people in my neighborhood that are in their 90s. Okay? And if these people are here till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, when we're in bed, okay, a fire would come through and ravage that. And how do we get my neighbors out? How do we get our animals out? When I go to work every day and I see those taco vendors there, it just takes once. Am I going to come home and not have my home? And if any of you think that those of us that still have insurance, okay, do you really think there's going to be money? Okay? Think about it. If this active burns to the ground, we're going to have land. Okay? We're not going to be able to rebuild. A lot of us won't be able to rebuild because our insurance companies are going broke. You got somebody comes in and buys this land, and what used to be Acton is now northern Santa Clarita Valley. You think it's hyperbole, but these are real things. Fire is the biggest concern that we have out here. Okay? And these people have no regard for you, me, our homes, our families, our neighbors, our animals. They don't care. They're here for one reason, and that's to make money. You can watch a truck get off the freeway, pull into the AMPM. 4 doors will open. One guy will get gas. One guy goes into AMPM. 2 go to the taco stand. They all meet back at the truck. One's got a 6-pack or 12-pack of Modelo's. They'll pull over on Antelope Woods in the no parking zone. And then when they're done with their tacos, the garbage comes out. All the bottles are back in the 12-pack, and it's there on the curb for somebody else to pick up. If we don't stop what's happening now and take stand, we can't rely on the higher ups because they haven't done anything for us yet. Okay? They help, and we can try. But what we have is everybody here has a truck. Everybody here has a trailer. Okay? We need to start parking our vehicles in those spots because if they can't set up, they can't do business. We need to send a clear message, you're not welcome here. Okay? It's not a victimless crime if they burn our homes to the ground. You talk about the motorhomes? Real simple. Where are they dumping their tanks when they're here for a week? I caught one on the north end of the school. Okay? I caught him just as he was pulling his tanks out. Okay? And I told him, get the hell out of here. that I got his number, that if I see him again, we're gonna have a big problem. Okay, I'm done, fine. And he got back in his motorhome and left. Okay, we got people dumping in our town, so you can tell you better than anybody. Okay, go along and look on the end of that field where everybody, all the parents come in to turn around, pick their kids up. They're all down in there, toilet paper, and how long does that stuff take to leach down into our aquifer? How long? 3 years, 5 years? That's the water that we rely on. Those of us that are on wells rely on that water. So we can sit on our ass and hope that the higher ups help us, or we can take control of our town without violence, okay, and start parking our vehicles there and send a clear message to these people that you're not welcome in our town. Because they're doing nothing positive for us. Everything, their existence here is nothing but negative. They're hurting our businesses. What's that?
Who's giving them all the business?
There are people that are coming up to 14 and they get off for gas, okay, and then they're eating the tacos and going out to the desert.
There's local people that are.
There are local people, you're right.
And they like it.
And they should be ashamed of themselves.
They should be.
They should be ashamed
Why
of
should
themselves.
they be ashamed of themselves? And sometimes these other restaurants are not polite, and they take forever.
Then we need to go to those restaurants and tell them to step up their game.
Exactly, thank you.
But if a restaurant loses its ability to do business because they haven't listened to their customers, that's the American way. But if they lose their business because somebody illegally is undercutting them, that's not the American way. That's not the way it should be.
Especially restaurants that community serve.
Yes.
That are, we go to.
Right, but all of this is moot if they have one mistake, one accident.
Well, they got that place set up right down here where it's right behind the feed store. All those big stacks of hay.
Oh, yeah.
You're toast.
And
This
they have
place is
tables,
toast.
chairs, grills.
But again, I'm gonna hit the one last point. If the wealthiest amongst us in California can't rebuild their homes, what chance do any of us have? A fire would come here and devastate this community. Okay, there are people that own their homes outright that do not have any insurance. They can't afford it. They've been canceled because of where we live. This is why the insurance companies are pulling out of California, is because the higher ups that say, let these people do what they want, they can stay, the sheriffs are powerless to do anything about it. The fire department can't do anything about it. Okay? We need to take it into our own hands peacefully and send a message by parking our trucks, parking our trailers, our tractors, whatever we can do in these spots and say, no more. Put a sign saying taco vendors go home. We need to send a message as a community. I got myself in trouble, okay, by fighting with one of the taco vendors. And the first time in my 58 years on this planet, I had to go to anger management classes. Because these people know what they're doing. They will bait you. And the first thing they do is when you're trying to talk to them about your home, they got the phone calling you a racist. Okay? It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with this is where we live. Okay? I don't want to come home and have my home, my neighbors, my animals dead because somebody needed to turn an illegal buck. I'm off my high horse.
Your name.
Name's Greg.
Greg Morrell.
Greg Morrell.
Greg Brown, thank you.
Oh, wait. We need, if you can send them pictures of generators, gas tanks.
You all can go there right now and look.
I know, but if you happen to have them.
Sure.
Barbecues, grills, I mean, the tick fire was started by a grill, deep fire was started by a generator.
Yeah.
So often, these are all really important.
You can get pictures, not hard.
The biggest problem is this lady right here. She needs to go. Catherine Barker does nothing for us.
That's
Right.
She does nothing for us. She's the one that told these folks up here, oh, I'll fight to keep this mess crap out of here. They go to a meeting, she's the first one to raise her hand, yes, I approve on it. So it is true.
Yeah.
Then the other thing is, in front of 76, we have a sidewalk there. The kids from the junior high walk that sidewalk. and these street vendors have that sidewalk completely barricaded for the kids to walk through on the sidewalk.
So, did I hear that somebody has seen somebody dumping gray or black tanks next to,
Yes. They dump all over.
so next to the middle school, north of the middle school?
Yeah, just on
That's
the
yes
east
or
side.
no?
On the east side of it.
Next, am I hearing that the pathway for kids to walk to school, where the crossing guards are, to get to the library, that their path is impeded sometimes? Okay, thank you, that's all. There's a school
Hey,
board
Ken.
meeting Thursday night, Jackie.
Ken, the sidewalk is not on the side where the crosswalk is, it's on the opposite side in front of the 76, that's what they're talking about.
That's the one I'd be concerned with.
Okay, yeah.
They do block the sidewalk on the, right in front of Don Chado's. They block that sidewalk. The guy was working on his generator the other day, I actually have a photo of it. Out in the street, you know, he was sitting kind of out in the street, pulled his generator off his food truck and he was working on it. But they do block that entire sidewalk. The lady that's there in the morning, I think she sells like breakfast burritos and tamales and some other things out of her ice chest.
cart or in a food truck?
No, she's in the back of her car, she's open
Oh, so that's not allowed either.
and then she sets up on the sidewalk. The whole sidewalk.
Hey Jackie,
Yeah?
so can I do something real quick, just kind of get some education as far as I know, what going out with the health department. So this year, we've gone out 6 times to do vendor sweeps out here. And each time, basically, the health department, I can kind of pick their brain and see what they tell me, what we can and cannot do. It first started with 946 with Governor Brown in 2018, and then it got reinforced with Senate Bill 635, and the nail in the coffin was 972, which completely decriminalized it. If you read it, I was just kind of skimming through it right now. It doesn't matter about the carts, it doesn't matter about all that stuff. It pretty much says it's completely 100% decriminalizes it. I know that when we do the food vendor sweeps, all the people on the taco carts and all that stuff, all their food gets thrown away, but the infrastructure doesn't get touched. They get a citation. What happens with that citation? I have no idea with the health department, what their bite is on it. And then as far as the food trucks, they are licensed. They do tests for them. They tested the water, they tested the refrigeration, and they checked their license, and they've been fine every single time that we've gone through there. I don't know if that's any consolation or anything, but and I keep on requesting the health department to come every month and get on their schedule, because they're the ones that are doing the enforcement, and we just go out there with them. But when they do us, Lake LA and Little Rock together. So they kind of, because they're coming from LA, so they kind of do like a big sweep whenever they come out, and we try to get them out to get as many times as we can, but sometimes they're busy and they're doing other stuff down in LA. There's more, you guys are right about the fire stuff. I've talked to the fire department, nothing they can do there, because it's like not the minority report. And there's more to it than just that. I mean, Tammy brought it up years ago about like some of these people might be human trafficked. I've tried to talk to them outside but they're always on their phones. I have a feeling that a lot of these are probably human trafficked people, especially the ones that are selling the flowers and stuff. And then they have their own little taco cartels, what the health department called them, is basically where they're paying literally the cartels protection money, if you will, like racketeering, and then they get notifications when sweeps start, because they have people following the health department people from their office in LA and just following them like as soon as they leave, and then they get the heads up and they start packing up. So depending on where we start, like you'll see them like packing up before we even get there, which is kind of interesting. Just thought I'd bring that up.
Well, a couple of things. They're required to show a letter, right, but they don't, apparently. They are, also required to notify the county where they're going to be, and the health department. That's in the state law. And we have asked the county health department over and over and over for the sushi truck, the taco place, the other truck that's in front of Don Chado's truck, where they're allowed to be or where their permit says they can be, and the health department refuses to provide the information. I have it in black and white from the health department. You are not allowed to set up tables or chairs or have food boxes outside or grills or barbecues or generators or any of those things. And every time we ask them to enforce on those particular uses, which we have mapped them for them in active, health department has refused to respond. There's no response at all. So.
Yeah, so no, I know what you're talking about. We went, Chuck had me go out with, the health department on the one by the feed, and I'm like, hey, so they're not supposed to, I was not aware they weren't supposed to have like the chairs and setup and stuff, that went over there, and so we went over there, and the health department said, nope, this is fine, this is within whatever regulations, and I was like, okay, that was it.
Okay. I would just like to say that I would like to see that with the, stand up so everybody can hear you. With the food carts and the pop-up restaurants, when the environmental health comes out and inspects and says, we're gonna take your food because it's not the right temperature, it's not the right food, you shouldn't be serving it, blah, blah, blah. When they take the food, they should do that once. The second time they come out, they should take their equipment and impound it. And then they have to pay to bail it out. And you know what? That would be the last time those people would set up in that area, because they're not gonna wanna bail their equipment out every time they get busted.
I agree.
So I have a question. My understanding is that on screen is an officer or like something like a cop? A deputy. So this is all, in my understanding, code enforcement issues, right? Because a street cart or whatever they're called is code enforcement. So if everybody brings, has a massive issue with them, where is code enforcement? Because they're the ones that I believe can shut them down, right? They're legal, actually, and that's new, right?
Street vendors are legal.
No, not the ones that have tables, chairs,
No, those are pop-ups, yeah.
Well, I don't know, the one that's been on Allen Woods for years now.
That's illegal. That's what they call a pop-up restaurant.
Okay.
Well, it's the same as the one right next to, right across from McDonald's, right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
They got 3 easy ups, they got lights, they got generators, they got signs, everything.
If somebody wants to.
On the other
The
side of it, yeah.
problem with the health department is that, my understanding is that they are
Stand
underfunded.
up also so that everybody can hear. We've got
The
some
problem
chatter
with the health
over here.
department is that, my understanding is that they are underfunded and understaffed. They don't have time or resources to go out and check the street vendors. They also are in the business of making money. So they go after the brick and mortar restaurants. They are going to come to my restaurant
And screw you.
and get me. I will have to pay a fine. I have to pay to get my letter grade. They're not gonna get the money from the street vendor. And so they let the street vendor throw away their food. That's nice. They would shut me down. I don't get an opportunity to throw my food out if that was the case. I would be closed down. So I just think that they are underfunded, understaffed, they just don't have the resources to come out. The street vendors are not a priority.
But the health department is the only entity that's been tasked with this.
I understand that.
Engagement for whatever.
So we have to look at the bigger problem, why is it unenforceable? Why can't deputies do the things that we all agree that's the law? Why isn't it enforceable?
Because of Senate Bill 972, it literally states that we cannot enforce the health code violations. I would be committing a misdemeanor by enforcing those laws. So when the Senate bills pass, and that's why it's important when we vote, it's not, I'm preaching to the choir, but you guys are all like-minded individuals, but when all these things pass that sound nice and good and feel good on the ballot, and then these are the consequences on it. So in order to overturn it, because we're not an independent city, we're unincorporated and we're at the behest of the county, the Senate bill has to either be overturned or the county has to come out with their own regulations, but their own regulations reading what it has to be, because it's a Senate bill, has to be more stringent than the current one. So it has to allow them to have more freedom, is the way I read it, than not. Also one thing real quick, you were right, the guy in the white shirt. The guy at the fruit truck in front of the A&P, he's the same guy that a couple years ago enticed and went viral, the owner of Bergie's. Yep. And he tried to do it to me too, So you guys gotta be careful when you're talking to these guys. If he's not filming you, someone else is, and they're trying to bait you because they got a ton of business and they got a lot of sympathy from the viral videos from them being attacked, quote unquote, kind of thing. So good, thank you for bringing that up, by the way.
Well, that's why I got into trouble, because they didn't listen to you the first time.
I'd like to read an email from Joshua Trapezonian with the Department of Public Health. We do not regulate food trucks setting up non-food prep equipment like tables and chairs on the sidewalk. If the vehicle is setting up a barbecue or grill and preparing or storing customer food outside of the vehicle, we would be allowed to intervene. This is them. That's why, that's the position. I mean, so it's odd that they can't do anything under state law, but they're telling us that they can intervene. So when, in response to this is just in August. We asked them to intervene and it was crickets. You know, and we told them where.
So I'd like to see a show of hands, how many people in this room would actually eat off those taco trucks knowing that, what they do?
We'll eat.
Okay, so you're willing to eat off a taco truck that has no.
I come home from work, I get at night, 12, 1, 2 in the morning, and when I can get them at 11, I eat. Because a lot of places here in Akron are closed. It's a new generation. It's new people, younger people that come home late, come from the valley, come from San Bernardino. I work 24/7, nonstop. So you support Talking Box then? So you support Talking Box then? That's a franchise. Instead of supporting, no. That's.
None of those people are local.
Yeah.
Oh, but
That's, you know what, you get it wrong.
Go for a shrimp and they got taco trucks all over the
I do, I eat everywhere. I eat everywhere.
And just dirt off the road that flips up into the food.
So when you went to party barbecue, you put your system.
So my idea was to try and have a sit down with Supervisor Barker herself and hopefully other supervisors or at least their staff to address this issue. Because, you know, wildfire concerns are very real and very significant, as you pointed out, particularly in aftermath of the Eaton fire and the Palisades fire. So that's one idea I have. I'm open to other ideas. We can take a vote.
I think, Jackie, we really need to move on that trails thing where they would block that, we've talked about it, like continuing the horse trail around the corner by the school, and then that would be completely blocked, because then it'd be a horse trail with the wood fence, like getting Public Works to get on that trail thing.
We would give anything for that. We applied for a federal grant, Safe Routes to School. We can't seem to break, that has to be done by Parks and Rec and Public Works working together to deal with excess county right-of-way, and neither of them will do it. So I'm so grateful you said that, Orlando, because if you could write an email to the Acton Town Council saying it would be very helpful for community safety and for just our own well-being to get a trail there, I would be eternally grateful, because then I can maybe use that, and I'm yelling, I'm not yelling at you, I'm grateful you said it. I'm just very frustrated, because for 15 years we've been trying to get a trail there. So if this can help.
I can write that for you, that's not a problem.
That would be awesome, because we used to have quarterly meetings with Parks and Recs and Public Works and regional planning, trying to knock all their heads together just to get a trail or two in this town. And for years, we never went anywhere. Our CSD is held up to this day because of that issue, among other things. So thank you very much, Orlando, I appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Jorge Menezes. I'm a general contractor. I do not have a home here in Akron, Iowa. I do own land, and I'm planning to one day develop there. Number one. Number two, as a general contractor, I face a lot of the same things you're facing as a legitimate business, trying to make ends meet and dealing with things that are not, legitimate. I understand that point, totally valid. In fact, more valid than anything else. But there is one thing that I would like to say, and it applies to our community as rich as Akron and Agua Dulce. The name says it all, Agua Dulce. There's a lot of Spanish-speaking people. There's a lot of cultural things that impede us from like really just saying, you know what, I'm gonna go to a KFC in the middle of the night when there's a taco stand. Now, I'll give you, the most valid point you made is safety. Not only the health safety, but the concerns about fires getting started because people are not being safe, totally understandable. I don't understand, and this is something, I live in LA and it's horrible. I mean, in downtown LA, you're trying to walk on those streets, you're not gonna make it. It's like you have to walk on the street, the sidewalk is taken by vendors, okay? I'm trying to make my family move here eventually, and I don't want this to be LA. I want this to be different for my family, right? So when it comes to a cultural thing, hey, I love my culture, I love my food, but I'm not gonna risk the safety of my family, anybody else around me, or the community that I'm gonna be living. I don't know, in LA, there are places that are food markets, okay? There's regulation there. There's regulation about the water, there's regulation about the food temperature, there's regulation that law enforcement can enforce, there's regulation that the health department can enforce, and I believe, this is just my opinion, and everybody's allowed to have their own. If you guys were to talk to the people that are causing you trouble and say, look, we're gonna give you a place. This is where you can legally do it, and you must follow those rules. Okay, you're not gonna, by dividing us into, hey, my culture, you're trying to attack it, and you're gonna make me feel like you're being racist, and I'm gonna get you in trouble. That's gonna bring more friction. But if you give them a pathway to, hey, regulate yourself, make yourself safe, make it so that the community can benefit from having that extra cultural thing, but you're not causing a hazard, you're not being unsafe, and you're not being unruly, causing trouble, saying I'm racist. Maybe, there's not a lot of communication there, but there also isn't a pathway to allow people to safely do it. And so instead, they choose the easy way where they won't pay taxes, they won't be regulated by the health department, they will not be regulated by the fire department. And so, my opinion is, give them a way to actually do it right, and force them to do it right, and ban everything else.
Well, except for everything that they're doing is already illegal.
Correct, but there isn't a place where they can do it legally.
Ban it because they're not gonna allow
Sure there is.
And it's not
Buy a
just,
store,
it's not just
they rent a
Hispanic
store,
food,
and they
it's
pay
Asian
workers'
food,
comp,
it's
and they pay
sushi,
rent on it.
Yes, I understand that, but that's why the point.
This has nothing to do about race, when you bring
No,
that
no,
up.
no, it is not,
This
and
has
that's
to
what I'm
do
saying, it's a
with
cultural thing, it's not a racial
I
thing.
don't care about the cultural thing, it has nothing to do with it. It has to line a space, pay the rent, pay workers' comp, payroll tax and everything, which they don't do.
Right.
Period.
We're on the same page.
It's not a
I
matter
don't
of fighting
disagree
in
with
the
what
spot,
you're
you don't need
saying.
to fight on the spot.
Correct. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, I think that's why as a community, everybody should be able to, come up with the points that need to be addressed, like having a legal board space, a clean, safe space, and a fire space.
It's not on the street.
Okay.
Right, you're right.
We're gonna, let Kenny have final word, and then we're gonna wrap this up, because we still got some other big agenda items, so. we have a good thing. Go ahead.
Like, that's fine, but it's not the taco vendors that we're against. I don't care if it's a sushi truck, if it's the barbecue truck, if it's the mango rice guy, if it's the taco truck guy, if it's the lady selling breakfast burritos. Like, it's not a racial thing. It's not, we're not picking on a culture, we're picking on street vendors.
Correct.
And whatever their ethnicity happens to be. Like, it just needs to be, they need to have the same rules that the restaurants have. Like you said, you get the ones that undercut in the construction business, and that's the stuff we find here that's being dumped. Somebody does a kitchen remodel, and they don't wanna pay the dump fees. So guess what? We get it dumped in our canyons. You do it the right way, you pay the dump fees, that kind of thing. So it's not a culture thing, a racial thing, or whatever, it's a whole as a food vendor. It's the food vendors that we don't want. I mean, and it doesn't matter what color, what race, what.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, bring a pathway so that they're off the streets, so you don't have to.
They came into our community, we don't want them.
Jeremiah.
Jackie, tell me who manages and is responsible for that right away? Cause I'm from Wisconsin, I'm just gonna move a dairy farm into, well, somebody's from Wisconsin, I'll just move it into your right away, right? Who owns the right of way? Cause it's happening in the public right of way.
We finally got Public Works to agree, and I have a map, that they own, I believe, not only to where the rocks are, but even not to, quite to the fence, but almost to the fence. On the west side of the middle school, is that what you're asking?
Yes, typically what happens is, the way the lands are drawn out, you own to the middle of the road. Each property owns to the middle of the road, and then you have an easement that you sign over, you don't build on the road, and then there's a utility easement. So in my front, that's where the power poles are. So I don't go over there and have horses chew on the power poles. There is a right of way, there are public right of way. So who manages that?
So what you just said is true, except for in the case where the road has been offered in dedication to the county and that road has been accepted for maintenance by the county.
So the county is responsible for what happens in the right of way.
Correct.
So I want to build a battery storage in all the right of way. Is that good? No problem?
Over my dead.
Yeah.
No, but you hear what I'm saying. You hear what I'm saying. I'll talk about this Thursday night. Come and see me.
Okay, I move that the requested meeting with Supervisor Barner and other staff, other supervisor staff. I'll second that. To eliminate health and safety violations and comply with state and local laws.
Alright, any other discussion? All in favor? Motion carries.
And if anybody else has any ideas, like parking the truck, I have no problem there, although I probably want to sit in my truck to make sure it doesn't leak. Yeah, so maybe we can start a sign-up
Yeah,
sheet.
we need to talk about it.
We'll be here at this time.
It goes back to the right of way. Are they going to tow your trucks? Because suddenly that becomes illegal.
No, it doesn't say no parking.
Okay, next up, gas station.
Okay, so let me just take a couple minutes to explain what's going on.
Stand up so we hear you, please. Sorry. Sorry, but thank you.
All right, in the sometime in the late eighties, it was, I believe it was after the apartment complex was built, just west of 76. The property owner, there was one piece of property from the apartments, all the way back of the apartments to, Sierra Highway, the frontage on Sierra Highway. And sometime in the late, 80s, the property owner applied for a subdivision of that lot to create a lot in the back where the apartments are, and then a lot in the front. My understanding, insofar as I can tell, is that subdivision, tentative subdivision map was approved by the county sometime in the mid-80s. It was, a final map was never recorded before the tentative map expired, because tentative maps don't live forever, they expire in a certain amount of time. So the tentative subdivision map expired, the property owner then applied for a new subdivision. It was approved in 1993. And it was clearly delineated, it was approved and delineated as something called a lease subdivision. And so if you pull up the map, which I have it electronically, you will see that the map for that lot in front, between the apartment complex and the Sierra Highway, is dedicated for development with office space and fire lanes for fire protection and, secondary access. So when you, and in the county code, a lease subdivision is a special kind of subdivision that is done, and when you do the subdivision, you also have to comply, all the departments comment on it, the Public Works, Health Department, Regional Planning, Parks and Rec. Also, they have to comply with something called the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. And so they have to say, this is what the subdivision is for, they have to explain what the purpose would be, and then do an analysis of the potential environmental impacts of that development. The tentative map was approved All I've been able to get out of the county is a copy of the actual tentative map that was approved. It was approved in May, I believe, of 1993. So a couple of things, there were 2 subdivisions on this property, both of which went through the discretionary public hearing process. The first one in the mid-80s, the second one approved in 1993. So my first request is if any of you were around at that time, and you recall any of the discussions, because I know to my toes that the Acton Town Council at that time probably weighed in, because from about 1988 to about 1997, they were very active looking at development, being concerned about traffic. A lot of them were concerned, council members were concerned with the high signs that went in for the 76 and the Arco and the Shell, which didn't comply with the general plan. And in fact, they were so vociferous, because I have some of the letters, that when I think it was the Shell went in to modify their sign in 1992, they were told by the regional plan that this is a tall pole sign, that it had to be removed by 1996, because it was 10 years after that the CSD was adopted that limited the height to 7 feet. So I know that the town council and the community very active at that time. They were looking at things like, remember the grocery store, the Ralphs, and all of those things. So if anybody has any information or notes or reports, and I can still need to contact the journal to see if they have anything on the discussion that happened at that time, I would love to hear it, because I have gone around and around for several months now with Department of Regional Planning. They apparently can't find any files from 2 different subdivision approvals that I know this community must have waited on. So I'm just gonna be silent for a second and ask, was anyone around in 1993, and do you have any recollection of this discussion? And if you do, please contact the town council, because we're not. One Public Records Act request I submitted, the response I got back, I asked for all records pertaining to this subdivision. The response I got back is, we have no recordings and no off-site records. I didn't ask for recordings. I didn't ask for off-site records. I asked for all records in the possession of LA County or regional planning pertaining to this. So that's one thing. Now, what is happening is the county has, the new property owner, I'm not sure if they own the apartment complex, or I think they just own the parcel in front, because it is a legally subdivided parcel for lease purposes only, for office space. That developer, that property owner now wants to put in a 16-pump gas station, a fast food business, a convenience store, and a few other things in that spot, right next to 76, which is going to create a lot of traffic and a lot of competition with existing businesses and so on and so forth. So the Acton Town Council wrote a lengthy letter in April, explaining that, and also some residents have spoken in the letters, explaining how you can't just erase the fire lanes and turn a lease subdivision parcel. A parcel is created for a lease subdivision into a parcel that can have any commercial use on it that's allowed under the rural commercial zoning code. The reason for that is because when the lease subdivision was approved, they went through the environmental process. They looked and said what all the impacts are gonna be. They said, well, it's just an office space, it's only gonna be maybe 100 cars a day. Well, a 16-pump gas station is going to have thousands and thousands with an S of cars a day. And so the traffic situation is going to get substantially more significant than what's there. So the first position that the town council has taken is that you have to do a new environmental review, because you can't just erase drive lanes and rename it from a lease subdivision map to an unrestricted commercial map. You have to follow the process. So that's the first position you say. The other problem is the county has told the developer that we're just going to process erasing the drive lanes and erasing the lease subdivision and turning it into an unrestricted subdivision. Now, that's all we're gonna look at. We're not gonna let you tell us what you're going to do with this. Now you're asking for these changes. So the record and the communications between the county and the developer make no mention of the 16 pump gas station. We happen to know about it because before they submitted amend their map, they submitted a site plan just to put the gas station in, and then they realized, oh, the drive lanes are gonna be in the way, so now we have to put the drive lanes. So that's how we know, we have a site plan, we can, I think we've even posted it on our website, so you can see all of these things. So what the county has also told the developer is, we're going to look at the environment, we're gonna declare that your change, erasing the fire lanes and erasing the least subdivision portion of the subdivision, we're gonna say that that's exempt from secret, because it's just erasing lot, there's no development, there's no nothing. And then when that gets approved, then you can submit your application to do all the other development. Well, under the California Environmental Quality Act, you are not allowed to break a big project down into two smaller pieces. You saw that with the BES, right? They broke up the ministerial site plan from the discretionary franchise ordinance. So, and they're doing it now with this project. That way they can avoid looking at the environmental impacts of all the traffic and all the noise and all the trash. I understand from the Active Women's Club, who does a lot of cleanup in that area, that one of the, a major source of trash in the area is from the fast food waste. So this is gonna be, increase that. So, as a council, we've identified two different ways in which they're violating CEQA in looking at just this little bit of the project and later on considering. We also have received traffic studies over the last few years showing that the intersection of Crown Valley and Sierra Highway and Crown Valley and the two on-ramps and off-ramps for north and southbound are very, very, very close under current circumstances to triggering at least one traffic signal threshold analysis. So, now, just because you trigger one doesn't mean you're gonna get a traffic signal. But when this development comes in, it's going to blow through many of them. And in 2015, the town council and the residents of this community worked very hard to make sure that when the Antelope Valley Area Plan was adopted and the county general plan was adopted, made sure that rural communities, and particularly Acton, would be protected from development, not protected from traffic signals, but protected from the kind of development that would trigger traffic signals, because that is urban infrastructure. And it is laid out very clearly in the AB area plan, that they are not supposed to approve development which would drive our community, any portion of our community, to a point where traffic signalization is warranted. So, and it doesn't matter if it's already warranted, they just can't make it worse. And so, there's been a lot of confusion, I want to lay it out certainly, but there's been a lot of confusion. People have said, Acton Town Council needs traffic signals and they're safe. That's not the position, it's just we've been opposed to the kind of development that would increase the need for traffic signals, because that means all the customers are coming off the freeway. It's not community serving, they're making their nut on the freeway, and that is not what is supposed to happen in this community.
Is that, trucks as well? Are we talking diesel?
I can't tell from the site.
Okay.
But I know there's 16 pumps, 16 pumps, so I know
Yeah,
it's
huge impact.
My understanding is, and I've looked it up on the map, 76 is a map truck stop, as far as I understand from the DOT. So, this hearing is happening on November 19th, so it's next week. And it's, so we are, tonight we're gonna take a position, we're, and probably hopefully send a few people with the town council either speak over the internet. You can participate in the planning commission hearings remotely, or you can go down in person. And, so we wanna make sure the public knows about it, and we can send you the link so you can participate. I think it's agenda item 9, so but they sometimes move the agenda around, so I'm not exactly sure where it's going to fall in your day. But we encourage you to participate. We can, we can provide letters, copy of the letter that the town council has sent, and the other letter that we're going to vote on tonight. There are also some other organizations in town that have written letters, and we can can supply them to Ruth and she can put it out to you guys if you're interested, to give you some talking points. But we would really appreciate, if you know any of the history of especially the 1993 approval, because there's no records on that. And it would be great to have some understanding of what their stakeholder review was at that time. I'm confident that it was no impact because it's just office space, which of course is not the circumstance that we're talking about here. So if you can participate, that would be great. If you can share information with us about what might have happened in 1993 or the discussion that happened, that would be greatly appreciated. And also, we're here to get input from you on what you think of this project. And we can also post on our website your language. If they just do that, they just This is Mike Hughes, he was on the town council for a very long time. Stand up.
Anyway, Mike Hughes, was on the town council a little longer than I can remember. Anyway, I went through my files, I still have a few files from, was it 2001 to 2004, that may or may not help. But, the minutes were kind of sketchy back then. But recalling the Shell station and many of the other projects, the only way that you're able to really fight it if it's zoned already for a truck stop in that area is just community input. The more you can get, the better you can get traffic studies, it's going to destroy the traffic in the area.
That's why we're grateful that you guys are all here.
I also want to get together with Pam or someone, to go over all the files that I have. So I can give them to the council, but you need a place to put them. Because I've got most of the minutes from way back the first part of them till now categorized in binders and stuff.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I have a lot of EDSB stuff, but I guess you do also.
I have a little bit of it, mostly about the regional plan, the standards committee, the payback plan and all of that.
Because she was on the first 1985 area.
Right.
I have some of Ray's and Elizabeth's, not a lot of it, and I have some from Bill Davis, and a little bit from Jim Conley, but that's it, so I would be really grateful.
Yeah, and just
for that.
having a calendar or someone to get together and, may take an hour or two to go over it, and I'll fill out what's inflammatory and then keep it going. Anyway, those kind of things. But, the recollection is the big thing is the signage and the traffic, and communities gotta be there, have a voice. Otherwise, dealing with the county is dealing with the county, they're useless, no offense. I don't know if you have a representative from Margaret's office here or not. If you don't, you should have. But unless she's supportive of you, as one person mentioned earlier, she's useless. Compared to Antonovich, I've seen and heard nothing really effective coming out of her. Obviously.
Sure, fair enough. Thank you, Mike, I really appreciate you coming tonight and sharing that with us.
So do we know if it's like a pilot or a TA or Loves or any of that?
Do not know. I just know it's 16 pumps, which means it's twice as big as the Shell, twice as big as the 76.
Is it gonna replace the 76?
No, it's next to it.
Why would it be right next to it?
So it's gonna replace the 76?
So, I was a truck driver, and if it's turning into a truck stop, I can tell all of you, you don't want a truck stop here. The lot lizards come from everywhere to these truck stops. They get on CBs, they'll call out on CBs. We go through Nebraska, middle of nowhere, and you hear lot lizards on. Hey guys, come into the Loves today. We got something special for you. And it was non-stop, all the way across the country. You pull into these truck stops.
That's why I left Texas.
And just because it's a truck stop, you'd think they'd get out and use the restroom in the truck stop. You gotta look on the ground whenever you get out of your tractor. Because these guys are so lazy, they'll take a dump right there on the ground between their tractor and their trailer. I've seen it all.
We've had that problem at North Star Middle, so it's happened a lot.
I've seen it all. If it's a truck stop, we don't want it. I've seen our on and off ramps aren't designed for all these trucks coming in and off. It's bad enough now when some of these big rigs get off and they swing super wide out into the other lanes. That's the only way they can. We'll get these ding dongs that aren't trained well at driving, and they'll run up and over the dividers around here. We just, if it's a truck stop, we need to fight it worse than anything in the world.
And some of the auto exits are toilets.
Yeah, and that's the big problem. The county is refusing to address or even mention that whole component of the project.
Now, they have a big truck stop just going on, or is going in on S.
Exactly, that's a huge
I've got
right now.
facilities and showers.
So why do we need that here in this small town as my question? I know it's all about money, but
I was gonna suggest that I can provide a link on social media.
I can provide a link on social media directly to the board of supervisors.
Once we confirm the agenda item number, and you can just provide comment through that link.
Oh, it's the planning commission.
Planning commission, okay.
Number 19.
I will see if I can arrange that, and I'll put it out on social media, you guys can do your job, make your comments, and just do all the comfort of home.
Well, we can post the hearing package.
We'll make up a flyer with a link for you to, phone in on.
The planning commission meeting is on Wednesdays, we start at 9 a.m.
Hopefully, maybe some of us will be down in person, because that's gonna be very effective. Wednesday, I believe it's Wednesday, because the board of supervisors is Tuesday. So,
Getting off the freeway, so the other day, a week ago, no, 2 weeks ago, a big rig truck was getting off, northbound, and he went to make the left, and he jackknifed. So now he's Crown Valley this way, not this way. So he says, but I actually called Ruthie's husband, and I said, I knew she was coming back from Santa Clarita, and I'm like, tell her to get off at Red Rover, because it's completely backed up and stopped. You couldn't get through. They had to wait for a tow truck to come and move the trailer and move the truck separately. And
So, Tammy, that guy, I went to that call, he ran out of gas trying to get to the 76, and he wasn't able to completely make the turn. But he ran out of gas.
So what I'm hearing is an extra gas station wouldn't have helped.
yeah, the extra gas station was done.
Because it would refer to the 76,
but I will also try to post some talking points, see what our AV area plan says, how they need to look at the whole project and not just this little part of it, because that's so we'll post all that on our website for the next couple of days.
So we want to let 7600 speak.
Yeah,
Ed, do you want to say something?
we love you, Ed.
Up here as a active myself, I'm very concerned for the community. We don't need, I'm not saying because of distance, but we really don't need no business like that. But they keep, you're going to have so much lobby going here on this corner, which is going to be different than the old. So I'm just, very concerned, we hope we can do something about it. Thank you.
And I say, for, I don't know, 35 years, Ed has supported this town. Every little league, every baseball, every
Princess.
princess, queen, high school, I don't care what you ask for from him. That man donates to everything. He donates to everything, he donates to the task force. He donates to everything. Go to Arco, go to Shell, ask them, they don't donate anything. Ed 100% supports this town, and he's an amazing man, I've known him for a very long time. And I cannot imagine him having a gas station right next to him. Like, just everything else.
So I'm gonna make a motion Well, actually, first, before I make the motion, is anybody available to go to a meeting with me to the planning commission? I will not speak on behalf of the academics. I will speak, but not on behalf of the academics. Anyone available to speak either from the council or is willing to raise the comments that the academic council would raise, and write it out for them, make that presentation. I cannot do it, because I need to speak on behalf of a different organization. Would anyone from the audience be able to make a comment and say you're speaking on behalf of the academic council? We do this, I'm the chair of the planning committee, and so I can have one be a temporary member of our committee. Ruthie, you're a great speaker. That would be, so you can speak on behalf of the academic council, as requested by the chair of the planning committee, as long as we vote for that. That is correct. Does that work for you guys? Yes. Okay. All right, so I move that we have a comment letter, send Ruby, speak on our behalf at the hearing, on the gas station.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Oh, you're gonna go, you can go?
Yeah.
Oh, then you can speak too. Or, no, unless you don't want to, it's okay.
Let's move the brakes here for a
Okay.
second.
Sorry.
Yes, I can.
Okay, well, I didn't wanna put you, I didn't mean to.
No, I knew you
I'm
did.
sorry.
Don't
I'm bad.
May I make a suggestion, for anyone who wants to write up comments? And instead of, I had to write a comment on, the last thing we did, and it took me like 2 days to get it rewrite, and then, they asked for a second letter. I said, I'm not gonna waste 2 days again. I went to, with the computer AI, Copilot. Copilot said, I need a letter on the best, why it's not a good idea to have the best plant in Acton. In a minute and a half, that gave me 2 pages, point by point by point conclusion. Then I had to go outside and get my computer and threw it. But AI is a possibility if you want to write a comment, but you don't have all day to, if anything, it also help you establish your research, because it'll have point by point, and you can write it yourself, or you just let them write it. But any way it's done, you're submitting a letter and that carries weight.
Exactly, and if we can pack that, even if you say, you need to look at the environmental impacts, it could be one sentence, you need to look at the environmental impacts of the gas station that's going in, and not just look at this. Or, it's gonna cause more problems, it's gonna endanger more school children, it's gonna, and they need to look at the cumulative impacts, because the people that are fast food is going to be coming back. That's what we were told, so, which is the drive-through as well. So, and that's a whole other can of worms, but, so if anybody, even if just speak for 1 minute, or just one sentence, the more voices we have, the better. So I would make sure when we post on our website, this hearing package, the link to log in, and you can just sort of listen to it in the background, and you have to, put in the chat that what your name is, and what agenda item you want to speak on, and if you have an email address, your email address, and then they'll say, confirm you're in the queue for speaking, and then when it comes, that agenda item comes up, they will go to people on the phone, unless you're in person, which you do in person.
All right. Next phone on the agenda, proposed hydro bill.
Anyone else want to take this one? So we got a letter from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission last month. We got it just before the last meeting, so there was some time that we could put it on the agenda. A developer out of, I believe, Northern California, is proposing to construct a large hydro dam in East Acton that's gonna take out most of the homes east of Angeles Forest Highway. And it's going to have a large reservoir. The spillway, they said, is going into the Kentucky Springs Canyon, which there isn't a canyon. So it's very tricky. So this isn't gonna be out of the hands of the local government and the state government. It's the Federal Energy Regulation. Now, I have participated in a hydro dam licensing proceeding before the FERC actively from about 2006 to about, it finally got denied, rejected by the FERC multiple times, the last time a few years ago. And that was for something called the Leaps Hydro Dam Project. It's a pump storage project just like this is. The way it works is there's going to be a water reservoir up on top and another reservoir below where generators are. And when during peak hours of demand, when electricity is in high demand, when the transmission lines are congested, it's going to run the water from the top reservoir down to the bottom reservoir, spinning the turbines and creating electricity that will be sent to the Vincent substation. For reasons that are not clear, because I pulled up the application, which we can post on the website as well. For some reason, they're having both 230 kV transmission lines and 500 kV transmission lines, because the Vincent substation is one they both, no understanding why that would be. And then, when electricity is cheap, they call off-peak power, or like 8 in the morning when the solar's going high, but nobody's using the power, they'll use that power to reverse the pumps and put the water back up into the upper reservoir. So it's like a water battery. It's an energy storage system. We have battery energy storage. This is called pumped hydro or hydro dam energy storage system. And it's all for this energy profile.
And the power goes where?
Not here.
If it goes to Vincent substation, it does not come to us.
Correct.
Just so everybody knows, Acton's power comes from the Acton substation up Crown Valley Road, and that is fed by a 66 kV line, transmission line, sub-transmission line, out of the Antelope substation, way up there with my house. So we do not get power from Vincent. Vincent is the end of what's called Path 26, which is a major power transfer path from Washington State, all the hydro dams up there, all that power comes to Southern California, no, Northern California, comes to Southern California, ends up in Vincent, and then it gets distributed down to the urban areas.
Where's the upper reservoir?
The upper reservoir is going to occupy where most of the homes are right now, on the east side of Angeles Forest Highway.
Why don't you get rid of the homes? The eminent domain?
Okay, so that's what I want to talk to you about. Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, they have their own independent eminent domain authority under something called the Federal Powers Act, which was passed in first one was in 1921. It is the act that created all the hydro dams in Colorado, Cooley Dam, all the ones up in Washington, along the Columbia River and such. So it's a very powerful regulation, and if local agencies and state agencies don't want to, it doesn't matter, FERC will just come in with their big footprint and stomp all over it. However, there are certain, and this is what we argued very successfully in the Leaps project, and I believe a lot of what, I was working with the different organizations at that time called Frontlines, Forest Residents Opposed to New Transmission Lines. It's an organization of residents in Orange County and Riverside County opposing this project. But we zeroed in on the key issues in terms of it has to provide electric benefits, and it has to be demonstrated to provide electric benefits. And it also, under the FPA, Federal Powers Act, they also have to make certain showings of benefits, and the FERC has to give equal weight to non-electric issues like environmental impact, which is shown through compliance with general plan provisions, area plan codes, all those things. So the state and local things do feed into it in the conversation. Yeah, exactly. Or if they just say outright no, FERC is just gonna stop on it. So, And it's still a very preliminary thing. And well, another thing is they're going to have to bring a whole water line down from AVAC. They're claiming AVAC's going to provide the water, which is very troubling, because AVAC provides us with clean potable water. So they're gonna waste a lot of AVAC. Of course, we don't want them drilling wells, because then everybody's wells are gonna dry up. There's a lot of, but all of this is food for the argument. So, now, the reason this is important, when we're talking about it tonight, is because this thing came out in like, I think it was September, but we got the letter in October, and the deadline to file, to be an intervener in the party, a party in the proceeding, or an intervener in the proceeding, was set for November like 23rd or something like that. And so we had to decide, the way the Federal Power Act works and FERC regulations, if you file file a motion for intervener status, and 10 days after that, if there's no opposition, you are automatically made intervener status. Which means that you can argue before the FERC, you can request hearings on decisions. If you're just a public commenter, which is still very important, you can make public comments, but you cannot ask for these certain legal actions. And then eventually, if need be to press it in federal court, if they violate the FDA, or if they violate what's called the National Environmental Protection Act, which is like, it's the federal version of our CEQA. So, and there's arguments there, obviously, we make too. So, it's important that this community know about that. We will post a letter of, what we received from the FERC was a letter of intent to authorize an initial application for this project. We will post the application that has been submitted. It's about 46 pages. There's a detailed map showing where the upper reservoir is going to be, and then big rock areas. I don't understand it. So that's the other thing. The lower reservoir is a mile down underneath, right? They're 4 miles from the examining trace wall. It's just like, who lets it down? 4 miles from the examining trace wall.
So it'll flood the high school trail.
Oh, and Vincent! Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe we want
And it takes out the Batai property.
They probably wouldn't get the Keebler or the Angelina.
Is there anyone in the state that's not trying to screw us?
We have asked Supervisor Barber's office to intervene on behalf of the county in this.
Okay, so anybody that's known me a long time says my math kind of goes in a circle, but tell me the time I'm wrong. So let me get this right. This is a yes or no to Jackie. There was water needed, that was gonna be needed to drill that tunnel for the high-speed rail. It was coming from AVAC. You just found the water. Next, what are all these batteries for, so I can run my Hot Wheels set? No, what you'll find after this down the road is you'll find one of those huge data centers that runs the IA. That will be what's next, guaranteed, bet me.
I agree. I also want, before we leave that topic, CAISO has, this California Independent System Operator maintains a list of generators, which include this, and we have found 4 more, I think it's 4 more BESS that are proposed for interconnection with Vincent. So we still have more uphill battles on the BESS.
But the data center is at the end of the line. Watch.
It might be there at Vincent, I don't know.
Just want to say, my piece of property is actually directly affected by this project. So,
You were at Angeles Forest Highway? Oh.
just east of Angeles. So, right at where the upper reservoir will be located. Now, that means my family won't be here. Which is what I explained before. Anyway, one of the things that caught my attention a lot as I was looking at the project is they are trying to build this through the PLM. Right in that area is a whole federal-owned, piece of property. It's a hill. So when you're talking about they're taking that turbine tunnel, they're going through that hill. they're going through that mountain. So there is a lot of environmental impact, not just as far as the water coming from the aqueduct, but also as far as wildlife, and, you know, the fact that you're drilling through a mountain. You know, and for us, you know, we're doing our due diligence in the property that I purchased, and, you know, the environmental impact that it will have for us to drill to get water to my property. I cannot believe that all the stuff that I have to go through, you know, is so big, because my budget is not as deep as this company's, but they just get to say, we're gonna take water from the public, and we're gonna destroy a mountain that belongs to the public, and we're not gonna serve the public in this area. We're gonna take that power and sell it elsewhere, because why not? You know, and so that's another position. The other thing I wanted to ask is, what is the communication and working with Palmdale? Because it also affects Palmdale. I don't think it's all within Acton. There's also, Palmdale is part of that project. I think once you get past on Juniper Road, once you get past like 2 miles up Juniper, it becomes Palmdale. So I don't know if on your end, there could be any communication with anybody from Palmdale.
We can certainly talk to them, because part of the problem is that water actually comes out of, AVEC uses Palmdale Water District's facilities to purify the water before it comes to Acton. So AVEC doesn't purify the water, Palmdale does. So if there's gonna be a high water demand, you know, there's a lot of evaporation, it's an open upper reservoir, that's gonna pull more from, so I agree with that. Acton's boundaries go along basically the ridge line. So anything below the ridge line is not in Palmdale, it's just Acton. And maybe I'm mistaken, I tried to look at it very carefully, it looked to me like all the impacts were in Acton. But if I'm mistaken, I apologize, but you're right, there's a huge reservoir right on that BLM land. But also, they're going out to where all the private property is, up along Soledad Pass Road. And that's where their offices are gonna be, a giant rock pile. I still don't know what the purpose of the rock pile is.
Well, sorry, the reason I'm saying Palmdale is they're bringing it from the aqueduct, so it's not gonna be wireless. So that connection from Palmdale, getting it up to the reservoir affects Palmdale.
They said they're gonna use the existing 8 or 12-inch main that goes to the water tank that serves Waterworks District 37. But I don't think they know what they're talking about. So if they went from the aqueduct, I would agree with you, but it's very murky. So I agree with your concern, and it will be absolutely not if that's the case.
Okay, I've got that best battery thing going in next quarter, and I saw the map the other day. Their facilities, garage and all that stuff, and the pumping station is just a little bit north of where they would have put the batteries at. So if they take that under eminent domain, I'm kinda glad they're coming, because the batteries will be gone.
Some in the time, yeah. Well, yeah. Except for I kind of, you know, all the other people who were there.
So, I think Ruthie said, I'm Catherine Tucker, I think Ruthie said that this project was proposed like 20 years ago, and it was denied, Edison didn't like it.
I think I got confused. So that was the Lake Elsinore Dance Center storage.
Oh.
It was first proposed in 2005, I started fighting in 2006.
Okay. So this is new for this area?
It's new for everyone and everyone.
Okay.
But they're also looking at Lake Isabella, they're looking at Gorman, they're looking in, Rosamond. There's other locations that they were also. Rosamond's flat. There's a lot against this project. I believe if we put our shoulder into it, mostly limestone, put our foot into it, whatever it is we have to put into it, I think that we can be very effective at making it not be here. But it's gonna be a long, hard uphill battle. That one on Leaps, but 15 years, and I spent unfortunately, Edison can just say, we'll stick more transformers in, we'll stick more this. Just so everybody knows, all of the transmission lines around Vincent, you know, Edison has, as a public utilities, has adopted safe design standards for their transmission lines, right? They have, to be safe, they have to be this. I have a copy of it, I can't share it with the public because it's subject to an NDA. Just so you know, every single transmission line around the Vincent substation violates Edison's own safety standards. They're so close together. And we made that very clear when we participated in the Hatchery Renewable Transmission Project in 2009.
Is there acknowledgement that they presented this hydro project to you?
They didn't present
That that's, this is going on simultaneously?
No. Because it's a defective, they don't.
The others are just private business, the best questions.
Yeah, so all the developer has to do is have a brainwave and say, I wanna put in a hydro here, hire a geologist to do some preliminary ideas on where they can stick it, and then submit it to the FERC as a preliminary licensing application. Might cost $100,000, I don't know how much it costs. And then that's it. There's no need to talk to the community or state or local or anything. The only state involvement for in terms of compliance is under the federal, Clean Water Act. Any hydro dam project has to get a, what's it called? I'm blanking on the name. It's a 3-letter acronym for water quality, that's what water quality certification. Water quality certification under the Clean Water Act. Well, the feds have delegated WQC issuance responsibilities to the state water board. So the state water board has to clear it. Fortunately, because of that, they have to go through SEPA. So they can't just do NEPA, they also have to do SEPA. And there's a big difference between, so NEPA is the Federal Environmental Quality Project Act, SEPA is the state. The big difference between the two, under the federal law, they just have to identify what the impacts are and say, that's what they are, and it's worth us, the project's worth it for all these impacts. But under SEPA, they have to identify all the impacts. They have to mitigate them to the greatest extent feasible. And then the agency issuing the approval has to say, we believe this project is so important to the energy grid that the benefits it provides outweighs all of the significant environmental impacts. So the SEPA is actually much more powerful in a lot of ways than NEPA, but fortunately, because of this nexus with the WQC, they'll have to go through both. And so we need to be there to make sure we do that right too.
And what is Mr. Newsom's attitude about creating a hydro plant?
No idea.
If there's any.
We let Congressman Whiteside's office know, as far as I know, they didn't, I've shared with you on, didn't know about it. A lot of Supervisor Robertson office didn't know about it till we told them about it, so. Okay, I'm encouraged by an analysis I found online that was done by the CPUC, that's California Public Utilities Commission. And in their analysis, they broke down everything about pumped hydro. And the general consensus in the analysis was that they don't feel that pumped hydro is the most advantageous way to achieve energy storage. They seem to think that the timeline it takes to bring the project online because of the construction of it, which takes a decade to construct, the cost of the project, and then the amount of return that they get on the energy that it can provide, it doesn't compare to what batteries can do. So here, batteries are our friend, just not inactive. You just don't want them here because they're not safe in a very high fire hazard area. But I was encouraged by that analysis, and I'm also encouraged that FERC has denied the one in Lake Elsinore several times, probably 4 times. And in 2023 was the last time that they denied that project.
And there's been some pushes to get rid of a lot of dams. In this case, it's obviously different because it's not sand and pond, but there has been some swinging back the other way of.
Yeah. There is a pumped hydro in Cascade. Oh yeah, that's actually really close to LEU. Yeah, it's over in Pyramid, Cascade.
So Jackie, the rocks, they create turbulence, which improves water quality, cools it, and reduces transpiration. That's why you have, where it comes into that big pond over there by Sylmar they have all the black balls up on top. The same thing. So there'll be a waterfall that makes the water cooler. Watch and see, it'll be really cool. You'll be able to see it from the AI data center.
Don't forget,
Watch and see.
I now light the walls on. If it reaches, everybody downstream of it gets flooded out. We're all over the beach.
But it's funny she mentioned the flooding, and when we were looking at properties here in Akron, and Owalusa, that whole area just west of LA Highway says it's gonna be flooded in the next 10 years. So maybe they know something we don't know.
Is that an article? Can you?
It was just on Redfin. If you look at the Redfin, like,
Could you?
they have a flood.
Screenshot it and email it to us?
Yeah, I mean, it's there. Like, if you look at any property just east of LA Highway, the probability of it flooding, it's like 90% in the next 10 years. It's weird, but
That's
it's,
good to know.
they don't have it on
That's
Redfin.
there either. That's where's
LA Highway up east on the 14, right past the, just past Vincent, the station. That's LA Highway, LA Forest. Yeah, I'm saying it.
Right past the new truck stop.
Sorry, I'm you.
I have a question about eminent domain. Some of the, people were talking about, if, do they value your property before the project goes in? After the final EAR, how does this all work? They have to sell now?
Well, that's so.
The first proposal that they gave for the appraisal often got changed and much lower. From what we heard from those folks up there that we dealt with.
Maybe I'm as Pollyanna, but I believe there's enough problems with this project that if we really step into it hard, we won't come down. I believe that, but that's not the official town council position, that's just my opinion. So I don't want to, I'm not saying to scare people, but maybe people need to, and I recommend everybody, at least put yourself on they have to, you sign up to be on the distribution list for this docket, and you put post instructions or link that, you should read it from the start on how to do it, it's very simple. And what are you signing up for? You just to be, they have to, anything that is filed in the docket by a party, which will be us, the applicant. Water board is already filed for the party staff, you've already granted party staff. You will get all those notices, and if you sign up with your mailing address, it'll come by snail mail, so I recommend you give them an electronic address. And so they have to serve you, that's if you're on the notice list.
I mean, you're not signing up to be an interview.
No, but you certainly can. If you aren't affected, for example, if your property where this is going, you are absolutely an affected party. So, you know, I don't know if the FERC was approve it or whatever, but, and the other, one other thing I forgot to mention. I don't know, the deadline might be pushed out because of this whole shutdown, but out of an abundance of caution, we put it on the calendar for tonight so that we can have it, there will be no questions.
I just wanted to say a couple of things. Number one, on the value of properties, if you look at the 710 freeway, they purchased a lot of properties.
Yeah, they never built.
They never built it, but they bought it at the price before the 710 was built. So now those homes have increased in value. They won't pay you the future value because now there's a freeway there. So they got only the pre-710 freeway value. That's what you're gonna get. I wanted to ask, if possible, I don't know who I'm supposed to share an email with so that we can be part of that. I definitely want to be part of that communication. We certainly are affected by it. I know that Juniper Road, for example, would be a service road going up there. So more than likely, all those properties going from Juniper Road, Tiger Mountain, and the one below right in front of the SE.
All the way over to Soledad Pass.
Yeah, they're all gonna be bought out, so.
Well, so we'll post on the town council website, you know, under the announcements or whatever section. We'll put the application with the letter from the FERC and somehow a link to, this is where you.
Where you go to sign up
thing,
for them.
And follow the instructions. You know, you need to follow, I don't wanna write their instructions, I don't wanna get it wrong. Follow their instructions.
It'll be under hot topics.
I'll put it on.
Thank you.
And maybe we'll repost the gas station.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, how many houses does that encompass? You say like 1,200?
Chuck counted 45, just for the damages. Just for the
Okay, 45
damages.
homes, that's not properties. That's just.
I didn't, I don't remember
Not
exactly.
parcels.
Was it 60? Oh, was it 60? 60. It was, well, it's big, it's not just on the BLM, this is the initial count.
And then you said they were gonna drill a mile down and put a reservoir.
Yeah, lower.
A massive capital mine. That, the company's called Mine Hole, and this is their new design, it's escaping mining. To drill the lower reservoir to make it back. That was night shade. That was another energy project. All right, so I have a motion. Okay. I move that we move for interview status and propose an active hydro project.
Give it a second.
Second.
Give it a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right. Special election. Yes.
Okay,
I feel really useless to bring this up.
so, about a week ago, I was talking with Jackie, and we said something about the election coming up, and at the same time, we both realized that we did not, it's very embarrassing, do an acting town council election this year. So,
We apologize.
we totally apologize, so we both just.
So we all want to resolve stuff down.
So I'm the only seat that was up, so it would be my seat and one other seat. So what we're proposing is that we will go on and announce it, we will announce it's a special election, and we are taking, applications. I've got to look through the dates and figure out, but probably sometime in December, and then we would have an election if needed. We have not needed an election the whole time I've been here, and I was appointed.
We've never gotten
Enough people, enough happening, so we would need three, myself, one other person, and another person who decided they would like to be on the council, and then we would have an election in January.
So we will be putting, well, first we have to vote to do that.
Yes.
We'll be putting applications out at the usual places, Acton Auto, Market, you know, places where I post them on the website. And so you fill out the application, it's a $50 check, and you mail that in by the deadline, which we have to go through all that process and figure it out. And then, so our two people that have been on the council.
No, I wasn't asking you to come back, don't you think that's just what you want to come back?
Sorry, hit a tone there. But I would encourage anybody
Yes.
that has any time or energy to apply for the council, because it's a very worthwhile thing. They do a lot of work, but not much positive feedback. And it's challenging, but it helps the community stay the way it is.
There was one person here tonight that maybe filed, that he already left, but
Oh.
He had mentioned something about being up here.
Oh, okay.
Who was that?
A person.
Oh.
Sorry. I don't wanna throw him under the bus just yet.
Can you tell them that we're going to be?
Yes, well, we will.
I can make that motion if you, tell me exactly how we're gonna do this or how you want me to word it. Special election for the empty seats. And it would possibly be held in January.
We'll be able to back count that.
Oh, okay.
Things have to be, so in our bylaws, the application has to be out by a certain time, or there's a deadline to get it in, so. And then after that, there's a time when then you do the election, so that I can't, I don't have the numbers. Chances are it'll be January, if there's an election, if we get 3 applications.
Okay, good. Second by Ron.
Yeah, good. All right, any other discussion?
And once again, I apologize to the community. To my knowledge, that has never happened before. No, we've been so busy with so many things.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you all for coming.
We're gonna table the minutes and, so we review the changes you made.
Do we want to do the 27th?
Oh, yeah. They're including progress.
Yes, yes.
I think that.
Okay, I get.
They're fine.
John seconded.
Yep.
Okay, and then any other discussion? All in favor? All right, motion's carried. Yes, I wasn't.
Okay, there's 2
I'm like permanent abstention. No, I keep
Okay, yes, there's a new state law that is going to the governor for RVs, rent out. No.
On your property?
On your property to rent out to people. It's still going to create some. The only thing I can see that requires is you have to comply with those standards. You can't have more than 1 per acre. So if you have 5 acres, you get 4 or 5. Then the applicant. Because the one she was talking about was a
Done?
that one.
We can.
So we can put that on the agenda.
Yeah, I'll put it up. We got 2004. December 1st. This is the library. I don't think.